Kia ora! Thanks for joining me today. I thought we'd go over how I paint my blue armour on the Death Guard miniatures that I've been painting recently. I've had a few comments asking how I do it, so let's see how it's done. So in this video, and for the next couple of videos I think, I'm going to be using this, I think it's called like a featured Blight Drone. It's one of the ones that come in the Dark Imperium kit. It's that big, kind of one-eyed, shooty, floating thing. It's pretty awesome. I love it. And so it's a really good canvas for showing off a lot of the Death Guard techniques that I've been using, and they're not just Death Guard specific. Like if you wanted to do blue armor on anything, this would be good. If you wanted to do non-metallic bronze on anything, this would be good. So in this one we're going to be looking at the blue armor. It's a very bright kind of baby blue armor. I got the inspiration from old 50s Chevys, with that kind of baby blue color. But ones that have been probably left out for like 30 years in the rain in somebody's yard, and like that orange rust has started to come through and the paint is peeling back. So that's how we're going to be approaching this one. I hope you like it. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've got our Blight Drone here, and this is the model that I was talking about. So he's got these big cool panels all along the front here, which would be perfect for showing off this blue armor. And it kind of circles up around the top, and it might be... Oh no, that looks like it, just a little bit along the front. But anyway, the colour that we're going to be using is a mixture of Death Guard green and Lothern blue. And so I kind of do about a 60-40 of Lothern to the Death Guard. And this just kind of gives me that kind of sickly blue to start this process off. We'll be brightening it up as we go, and of course we'll be dulling it down as we go as well. But anyway, got that mixture on my palette, and I've added a little bit of water to help with going on the mini. So what we can do is just start base coating it all over, and I'm not being too fussy about where the paint goes at this point, because this is the first step of the process and there's going to be a lot of cleanup. So this is going to take a couple of coats, because Death Guard green and Lothern blue are both quite transparent paints, but the exact color I want. So go around, cover the miniature like this, take a couple of tries, it'll come back when it's done. Alright, so we've got that blue on there now, and that's looking nice and bright. It's exactly how we wanted it. Took about 3 coats in the end over black, but the effect is worth it. So the next thing we're going to do is start to glaze in a little bit of a grimy color to kind of start that transition towards some filth towards the bottom. So I've got this color here, which is Sepia Ink by Vallejo, I think. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just have a little bit of water on my brush. You can see it's quite a transparent paint here. A little bit of water on my brush, take a little bit of sepia ink, and I'm just going to start pushing it in towards these lower areas. And to help with the transition, what I like to do is put it on, suck my brush a little bit, and then just feather these edges. So put it on towards the base here, always pushing a glaze where you want it, and then take off the excess either on your thumb or on your tongue, whatever suits you, and then feather the edge. So I'll show you one more time on this side. So I've got a little bit on my brush, and place it all into that sort of recess there, take off the excess, and then feather the transition. And by feathering, all I'm doing is I'm just kind of doing a little squiggle with my brush, and it just kind of helps the blend a little bit. But that's the technique anyway. So I'm going to do that around all of this blue area, sort of up in these recess areas here and down underneath, just kind of pushing it down towards the bottom. Alright, so we've let that dry now, and we did a couple of passes of that sepia glaze, and you can see it's given it a really nice dirty blend towards that kind of filthy bottom. Again, never thought I'd be using that in a sentence on YouTube, but anyway, so that's what we wanted it to do. We wanted that yellow to go over the blue to give a kind of green hue and build up towards this kind of yellowy bottom. So that's looking good, but we want to kind of bring it back up a little bit now, and so make it a little bit brighter towards the top to give that you know, to kind of further emphasize that that blend. So we're going to be going back to Lothern Blue, which was the blue component of our base color. So we're just thinning this down quite a bit. It's a layer paint, so it's already kind of thin and transparent, but you can see on my thumb it's smooth, ever so slightly transparent. We're just using a smallish brush. We're just going to come back in and up towards these kind of raised areas. Just going to bring it back up. Again, brush and feather to kind of help your blends if you need to, but if your paint is transparent enough, it should only take a couple of goes to kind of brighten things back up towards a blue. So let me do it on a bit more of an obvious area. So we're just going to paint it all along there, and with the moisture of our brush, let that kind of blend towards the bottom there. Awesome, so that'll take a couple of coats of that blue to lift it back up, so I'll do this all around the miniature and be back in a sec. So as I'm doing this blue, all I'm doing is I'm taking a thin part, partly thinned I should say, version of this Lothern Blue, and I push it up towards the uppermost area, like so, and I take off the excess off my thumb, and I just kind of piddle around towards the transition, and because there's not so much on my brush and I've got moist bristles, it'll just kind of help ease that transition. And if, you know, the more times you do this, the smoother that gets. And so, you know, you can go back down to your sepia and then come back up to the blue and so on and so forth, and keep working it until it gets as smooth as you want it. Okay, so now that we've got that blue where we want it to be by kind of blending towards the top like I was showing you, the next thing we're going to do is add on some rust. And so the first step I like to with the rust is going to be adding in this scrag brown. This is a good kind of orangey brown, perfect for rust. But the first step is going to be thinning it down and just kind of placing it in and around all of these rivets. Let me just see if I can get this nice and close. Take off, you don't want too much on your brush. I had too much on my brush. And then you just kind of letting it pull up around these rivets, just kind of blending out the outsides if you need to, as well as all those rivets, all these kind of pock holes, whatever they are, these holes in the armor kind of eroded away. Just going to fill those up with the scrag as well. So do that all around, just kind of going around these rivets, and you can do it once or twice and build up the intensity of the orange in the scrag, but go around and fill up all of those recesses with that scrag and come back for the next step. And the last thing to do with this scrag brown is to take some of that scrag brown, not so thinned as the glaze, but just like you would any other kind of layer, get a little bit on the very tip of your brush, and out of some of these little pocks you can just draw little faint streaks. You know, follow the kind of curvature of it, come down on a bit of an angle, maybe there's a couple of little small ones. Cool. So I want this scrag brown to be boosted even higher to kind of make for a really bright orange to meet this bright blue, because obviously I love colour. So I'm going to be using this Troll Slayer orange here, which is this very bright orange. I've thinned it down in the same way I thinned down my scrag brown, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit on the tip of my brush, and in the very center of these kind of pocks, I'm just going to add a brighter orange so you can see how that's popping off really nicely off that bright blue. You know, you can do a little bit in and around these rivets, maybe follow these streaks a little bit, give the odd one a bit more attention, but just go around and boost up these rusty areas with as much of this brighter orange as you feel you want. And I'll be back in a sec to show the final result. Awesome, so that bright orange has really popped up all that rust, made it look very comical, which is exactly what I'm going for with this scheme. Next thing to do is to start pulling out some of the edges and add some little scratches and nicks and stuff all along all of these kind of surfaces that would catch the most attention. Something else we'll be doing is maybe adding in some areas where you know, the paint has completely started to flake away. So just take this Baharoth blue, which is a very nice baby blue. Just sort of come around all of these sorts of areas here and just add in a nice edge to start with, and start going around and adding in all of these edges. Other thing to be doing is, you know, maybe around these kind of pocks, just kind of having a little bit of the paint chipping away. And, you know, of course, add some scratches and little scuffs around the edges where we can add some deeper scratches later. But go around and just kind of weather this as much as you feel confident. Go around all these edges to start with and get that all looking nice and bright. Alright, so I've gone through and added in all of these little scratches and edge highlights and little nicks and chips and all sorts all over it. So next thing we're going to do is come in with some Rhinox hide. And if you've seen my weathering and battle damage video, you'll know the process here. We're just going to take a little bit of Rhinox hide on the very tip of our brush. We're going to come in and start adding in some of these kind of deeper nicks and scratches all around this blue, and that's obviously going to contrast really nicely all of this bright blue that we've started to add in here. So just in these kind of deeper areas, just look like the paint's completely eroded or worn off in some areas. So do that all around and come back in a sec. Alright, so after adding in all of those Rhinox hide scratches over top of our light blue, we are done. And so, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a good color on here, but I'm doing my best. I'm not very tech savvy. Especially when it comes to cameras. I just bought one, plugged it in, and I'm like googling things as I go. But anyway, that's how we go. That's how it goes. We built up all of that blue and yellow to make that kind of cool fade. We got our rust in there. We got our chips and scratches. You know how we do at Sloane Ranger Studio. But I'm thinking it's about done for the blue armor anyway. On the next one, I think we might. Well, actually, how about you comment in the comments below which one you think I should do next? Nah, scratch that. I'm going to do the non-metallic bronze. Comment below which one you want to see after that. I really want to do this beetle on the front here. I think that's going to be the perfect place to do some non-metallic bronze. So yeah, I hope you like it. I hope you like my content. If you do, feel free to, you know, like and subscribe. There's going to be more on this Blight Drone, and there's going to be a hell of a lot more in the future on all sorts of things. But yeah, like I said, next time we're going to do some non-metallic bronze. So look forward to that. Alright, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.